John Mechie, Jamison Williams, Slade Bolden also moving on as well, correct?
He is.
Moving on to the NFL draft. So your thoughts about the wide receiver core that gained a little criticism here late in the season of 21 as we head toward 22?
Well, I mean, and first and foremost, Jamison Williams, John Mechie, and Slade Bolden were tremendous guys. And I think all three are going to be good. They're going to be strong pros in the NFL. You look at Jamison Williams, people have him right now mocked as between maybe top 15 to even late first round. John Mechie has seen a late first, early second round grade on him. Slade Bolden, somebody between the fourth and the sixth round. Look at that and go, wow, get Slade Bolden over here to our franchise. So all three big-time young men, and respect all three of them. But when you look at this young group of guys that are back, Mark, you can't put the blame solely on them just due to they could have been involved more in games, especially when you look at when Alabama was able to get blowout wins over the Southern Mississippis, over the New Mexico states, over the Mercers, and the Mississippi states of the world. I think Alabama won that game 49-9. In those matchups, you would want to see those young guys out there a bit more, but don't know why they were not out there a bit more, but that's besides the point. But having these guys back, Ja'Cory Brooks got some experience last year. And he's going to be looked at more this upcoming season, starting in the spring. J.I. Hall, the guy that flashed in the A-Day game last year, did not get much chances to do anything this season, this past season on the field, but he was out there for the national championship game against Georgia. Yes, he dropped passes, and he apologized for that performance to the fans on social media, but he did catch 2 passes for 52 yards. The potential's there. The ability is there. And I think being out there on the field in that moment, it sort of locked him in and helped him understand everything matters at Alabama. My work ethic matters. My practice habits matter. Everything on and off the field matters. So I think Hall is going to be good. Christian Leary and JoJo Earl, that's going to be fun in the slot with Slade Bolden going. Who takes over the slot between those two? You have a Christian Leary, who's a 10.5, 100-meter dash sprinter. You have a JoJo Earl, who's a bit more quicker than fast. So we'll see where that goes. Trayshawn Holden has experience. He is the roommate of Bryce Young, and those two have a relationship going back to the high school camping days in California. So that'll be interesting there as well. And then you have some freshmen in here when you just discuss Aaron Anderson out of Louisiana, Shaz Preston out of Louisiana, Kobe Prentice out of Alabama, and then Isaiah Bond from Beaufort, Georgia. So it's going to be fun to watch here how this wide receiver room shapes out, because it's going to be competition all across the board. But having those guys like a Hall, a Leary, a JoJo Earl, a Ja'Cory Brooks, and a Trayshawn Holden that did get some experience this past season, good moving forward here to spring ball.
Holden caught 21 with a touchdown. Harris, of course, had that amazing over-the-shoulder connection with Bryce Young to save the season against Auburn with just a few seconds left on the clock to force overtime. And, Stephen, I got to say that the comment that you made about Hall feeling as though he needed to go on Twitter to apologize to the fans, this is the sad state that we're in when it comes to social media. As long as the young man's out there giving a strong effort, he shouldn't have to apologize for dropping a pass.
I mean, he shouldn't have to, but Mark, this goes back to what I mentioned. A lot of these young guys should have been playing more in the regular season to have that confidence where if you're put in a big moment, you understand what you're doing. And so a lot of fans go back to, well, Stephen, Alabama threw Devontae Smith and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy out there in 2017. And I have to remind people, well, those guys played in those blowout games. Those guys played in the 2017 blowout of Vanderbilt. They played against Arkansas. They played against Tennessee. They played against Charleston Southern. So by the time the second half of the national championship game against Georgia came around, Jeudy, Ruggs, Smith, they had veteran mindsets out there because they played in those blowout situations.
Yeah, excellent thought there. As we move on, Stephen, to the offensive line, of course, Evan Neal is much talked about in mock drafts, and he's going to be taken off the board quickly. Chris Owens also moving on to the next level.
Well, you look at the offensive line, Mark, it comes down to the two tackle spots. Bryce Young was sacked 39 times this past season. He was hit or pressured probably twice more than that. So Alabama brought in a massive haul of offensive linemen in the 2021 class. And it was the two big names were J.C. Latham, a 5-star, and Tommy Brockermeyer, a 5-star. J.C. Latham at 6'6", Brockermeyer at 6'5". Both guys highly touted. I think, is this officially the moment where both of those two win those offensive tackle spots and become the guys that they were held to be in that recruiting class? That's going to be interesting right there. As far as the offensive guard spots, Alabama brings back Javion Cohen at left guard and has Emil Ekiyor back at right guard. The two have experience. At right guard, where Ekiyor is concerned, he has ability. Now, I'd like to see a bit more competition there as well. And that's when you have a Terrence Ferguson. That's where you have a Jaden Roberts. And then also you have some freshmen in here with the Dane Shore, a Tyler Booker, also an Elijah Pritchett. We'll be interested to see how that goes. At center, Seth McLaughlin is back. And it took a while for Alabama to hit on the center. McLaughlin came in the second half of the Iron Bowl and really kind of stabilized that group there. He played well in the SEC championship against Georgia, played well in the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati, helping Brian Robinson have that 200-yard game there. So between McLaughlin and Dalcourt, there may be a little push there in spring ball, but I think McLaughlin will kind of be the penciled-in guy at that center spot. But the one thing that Bama fans want to see is it time for Latham and Brockermeyer to win those two jobs there at both tackle positions?
Stephen M. Smith, touchdownalabama.com. Get on over there. Check out his work and the rest of the staff there at touchdownalabama.com, covering the Tide. So much to talk about concerning the offseason recruiting and, of course, the transfer portal and coaching changes as well with Travaris Robinson. So take the deep dive there. And join Stephen on his show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, in my own words, 6 Central Time. Stephen, we're going to run through the defense. Let's start defensive line. I'm just going to take you through each level. You can dice it up any way you choose, but we'll start up front.
Starting up front here, you got Fedarian Mathis and LeBron Ray, both departing here to the next level here. Two outstanding young men. And my heart kind of goes out to LeBron Ray a bit more because injuries took him from having the career he wanted to have. I mean, whether it was a shoulder issue, a knee issue, a foot issue, Ray just could not really get just enough healthy tape out there on film. And of course, I'm happy that he will be playing in the East-West Shrine game. So hopefully he can put something out there for NFL scouts to definitely see. Fedarian Mathis will be taking his talents to the Senior Bowl in Mobile. I thought he greatly enhanced his stock this past season with, double digits in tackles for loss, double digits in sacks, really had a big year. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on Will Anderson, and rightfully so. But if you look up front, big 48 Mathis was disrupting the quarterback, getting his hands in the passing lane, batting balls down, really upped his stock. I have an early second-round grade on him, so happy to see Big Field go to that Senior Bowl there. I know Jim Nagy is going to really enjoy watching him out there. But in terms of the guys coming back from a defensive line, DJ Dale is back. He announced that he's back there at that defensive tackle, that nose guard position. His freshman year, Dale was strong in 2019, had a little bit of a foot issue throughout his career. So hopefully this spring he will be at the healthiest he's ever been and get back to some of that production he had from his freshman season. But you have DJ Dale back. Byron Young is back on that defensive end position right there. And when he's entered games, he's created havoc. He's forced turnovers. He's sacked quarterbacks. And he's kind of a Jalen Moody, if you will. When you put him out there, he does big stuff. It's can you have him out there enough so he can continue making that name for himself? But Byron Young is back. T.M. Smith is back on my defensive line. also at that nose tackle position. Didn't have as much of an impact this past season as he did his freshman year, but he'll be back, renewed with some big energy. You've got Jamarian Latham. He's back on that defensive line, number 93. You got Jamil Burrows, 98, back on that defensive line after a good freshman year in 2020. Didn't really do all that much in 2020 this past season, but Burrows is back. Stephon Wynn, I believe, is back as well, number 90, and he came in as a high-prize recruit in 2018 out of South Carolina. So that's interesting right there. You got other guys. You got Tim Keenan III is back as a sophomore. You've got Damon Payne, no relation to Deron Payne, but Damon Payne back as a sophomore. You got Quinn Barnes back as a sophomore. And you've got quite a few freshmen that are coming in with this group. Guys like Isaiah Hastings is in here. Jaheim Otis is in here. Curtis Perry is in here as well. So young, a lot of talent here on this defensive line, but experience back as well. Seeing how you only lose two guys in Mathis and LeBron Ray.
A lot of guys, Stephen, back at the linebacking position, but my goodness, Christian Harris, for anybody that's maybe not aware of who's good and who's not, that just flips on an Alabama game and you love defensive play and linebacking, you're going to see Christian Harris flash. He's going to jump off the screen. He's that kind of talent. So he moves on after 80 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss.
And what's crazy about Christian Harris here, Mark, is he came in 2019 as an athlete. He was more so a DB when he learned linebacker at Alabama. And that's not the easiest position to learn under Coach Saban. But Christian Harris made leaps and bounds. He made strides. And I know he's still trying to get used to taking on a block and shedding off a block and shooting the gap and getting to the ball and moving big 300-pound offensive linemen off of him. But he got better with that as the season went on. You look back at the last 4 games, Auburn, Georgia, Cincinnati, and Georgia again, Christian Harris started to put together some of the best tape of his career, and especially the Georgia game for the national title. I mean, the brother had 2 sacks. He was playing with his hair on fire. So he really, the back half of this season, started to make some big money or some good money for himself in terms of the NFL draft. And a franchise is definitely going to get somebody who has a feel for coverage, somebody who has a feel for blitzing, and somebody that's getting better at taking on those blocks. That'll be something that a defensive coordinator and a linebackers coach will help him more so with at that next level. But having Henry To'o back is a big deal. A young man that finished with 112 tackles on the season. He got better as the season went on as well. Getting a Jalen Moody back out of a transfer portal, that was huge there for the Crimson Tide. As I mentioned, him playing in 52 career games. That's something you do not take lightly. You get that experience back on the roster. That's a huge deal. Also having guys like Deontay Lawson, Demoy Kennedy, also Kendrick Blackshire is back here as well. So you got some depth that you've stacked up at the inside linebacker position. Outside linebacker, Christopher Allen is the only one gone. Here comes Will Anderson back. Here comes Dallas Turner back. Here comes Chris Braswell back. Here comes Keanu Colt back. Here comes Quandarius Robinson back. And then you add a freak of nature in Jeremiah Alexander to that list of freaks at outside linebacker. I don't know what Sal Sunseri is doing, but he's doing the right thing over there. Going back to inside linebacker, Alabama's also got Sean Murphy that'll be at that inside linebacker position as well as a freshman recruit. So linebackers, Nick Saban's getting back to those technically sound guys at that inside linebacker room, but an outside linebacker, Sal Sunseri is doing something right.
Jalen Armour Davis with 3 interceptions in 2021. Josh Jobe, a star in the making from the time he stepped on campus as a prized recruit, and certainly fulfilled expectations there as the other corner this past season. So Bama loses the 2 primary corners. Where do we stand there?
Losing the 2 primary corners, but you bring back a Kool-Aid McKinstry, you bring back a Kyrie Jackson. Both of those 2 didn't play a whole lot this past season, but you see potential. You see potential. You see strides. You see spurts. You see flashes. They have it in them. And this is the reason why Travaris Robinson, that hire was so huge, because what he does with corners, how he teaches them, how he develops them, how he mentors them, how he molds them, not just to tackle, but to turn and face the ball, to play the ball, to play the lower third of the field, to be physical, to be in the receiver's hip pocket, to be technically sound. And I think that's what Alabama did not have with Jay Valai this past season. Jay Valai, good recruiter, Jay Valai, high energy, but Alabama was just lacking that technically sound specialist as a cornerbacks coach, especially when you go back to guys like Kirby Smart and what he did as a DB coach prior to being a defensive coordinator, what Jeremy Pruitt did in that role, what Derek Ansley did in that role, what Mel Tucker did in that role, what Carl Scott did in that role. So getting a guy like a Robinson that specializes in that role, that's going to greatly help McKinstry and Kyrie Jackson. And then you bring in Eli Ricks from LSU. Where does he fit in this puzzle? Because he can play outside corner at 6'2", 196 pounds. And this is a guy for his career, even despite getting injured, this past season for the Tigers, he still had, he still got 5 career picks. 4 of those came as a freshman in 2020 and 6 career pass breakups. Where does he fit in here? You've got a Brian Branch coming back. You've got a Malachi Moore coming back. You've got a Jordan Battle who shocked me. I thought he was gone. He decides he wants to come back. You got DeMarco Helms coming back. So this is an experienced group. You're going to have an experienced secondary, a whole lot of pieces, and getting Robinson in here as the cornerbacks coach, big deal here for the Crimson Tide.
Kyrie Jackson picked on a bit by Georgia in the national championship game, but certainly with a bright, bright future for the Crimson Tide. Stephen M. Smith, a touchdown Alabama on the line. Would love for you to head on over, and you will not be disappointed. Check out a show, In My Own Words, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right here on YouTube at 6 p.m. Central Time.